You're looking very blue today. Blue background, blue jumper. So anyway, so this was posted about a day ago. Anthropic researchers, all white-collar jobs can now be automated. I have a white-collar job. You probably have a white-collar job. Our white-collar welfare is over. So Anthropic researchers, even if AI progress completely stalls today, which, by the way, I don't think it's stalling, but I do think we're hitting a bit of a wall, and we don't reach AGI. Having said that, I don't think we need AGI. I don't know if we'll reach AGI. We might be able to reach something that feels like AGI that isn't actually AGI, if that makes sense. So the current systems are already capable of automating all white-collar jobs. I feel like there's a part of me that feels like we've always been. This is sort of something we probably could have said for a long time. Capable, right? There's this quote from John von Neumann. You all know that I'm probably a bit too obsessed with him. But he says, like, tell me exactly something a piece of software can't do, and I can create a piece of software that can do exactly that one thing. So I think that's always been the case. So I do think whilst jobs are capable of being replaced within 5 years, we'll just see if this is hyperbole. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get like government intervention too. So good. Can't wait for AI to take my job. I have a white collar job, but I really just want to grow flowers and vegetables in my garden. That sounds nice, to be fair. My girlfriend. That sounds like my girlfriend's dream, to be honest. Yeah, me too. We still need to have the means to own our gardens. Yeah, if you're a rentoid, no, I'm joking. I was a rentoid till very recently. You don't even own your garden. No one really knows how the economy will operate fairly with mass unemployment. Very true. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think we're there yet. Right now, we need more people, right? Still. Capitalism won't work anymore. And I have a hard time imagining billionaires and politicians accepting that gracefully. I think this is why a lot of companies, I believe I've said this before, but companies like Google, Uber, even Meta maybe, all of these companies have actually pushed Airbnb for UBI because they want to continue making money. So it's actually in their best interest for people to have money because then they can spend that money on their companies. Yeah, same man, same. What about the majority who don't have a garden? True. My garden is more work than I thought it would be. I do like having a garden though. I've not had a garden for pretty much the last like 10 years, so it's very nice. Yeah, man, bring it. Where's my redundancy package? That's the fun thing, there isn't. Let's go on to the next. I like to kind of go on the base level comments. I see. Also, let me know your thoughts below, as always. We know that this is somewhat fear-mongering, but also I do think it is inevitable that this will be the case, unless, like, I can't see a reason why specific tasks, if you think of a job as a set of specific tasks, I can't see why each one of those tasks can't be fully automated. And then you can have another piece of software managing those tasks. I don't know. Maybe that's too naive. Also Anthropic. 0 out of 4 researchers believe that Claude Opus 4 could completely automate the work of a junior ML researcher, remaining well below the threshold. AI can automate all white-collar jobs except for mine. It shows they don't know what most people do. I'm trying to think. The thing is, certain jobs will be sensitive, so they're saying it's a matter of getting the data, but are companies willing to give you that data, you know? Jobs are overrated. I'd rather stay at home and vibe code. I feel like vibe code should be in quotation marks there. Sorry, having a coffee. Soon all we do will vibe. I know that's not correct English, but I agree anyway. Yeah, let's vibe code a SaaS. This is just blatantly not true. Certainly, they could be of assistance, especially if company procedures are changed to support their integration, but it's clearly the case that humans are still needed with current AI. I think we should all go back to pen and paper rather than integrating AI. I'm joking. The more I hear from AI companies, the more I feel they are purposely trying to inflate their progress to date, which no doubt has been truly great. I think the current LLM tools are great. I'll be interested, and obviously this year we're going to have agents. I think that will be a thing. It does feel like I don't know. I do think the market in general is worse for jobs. Someone would have to confirm that for me. So like people saying that this is blatantly not true. I think there is a lot of companies, yeah, that are slow to progress, and you know everyone's in their usual routine, and I don't think everyone is constantly pushing the boundaries and trying to like optimize their workflows and stuff. That's just not what all people are like. There might be do you know what I mean? So most people are just getting on with their job and probably not even trying to integrate AI into their platform, into their work process. They probably just use a bit of, you know, I know lots of people that just use AI to like write emails or get like an analysis of a company or something, or even code obviously is an obvious case, but the more I hear from AI companies, the more I feel they're purposely trying to inflate their progress. This is definitely a thing. I wanted to do another video soon, actually, which is, are AI companies making money? And that's an interesting question, because I know this is old news now, really, but I think in like January, maybe before, Sam Altman was saying about how they're losing money even on their $200 a month model. It's crazy, and it's all a race to the bottom as well. I think if you think about it, all these pieces of software that are competing, the only real way that they continue to make money, in my opinion, is if people like fully integrate them into their work and they're stuck in that ecosystem. A bit almost like Microsoft today, right? Microsoft just keeps going because every company you join, they're using Microsoft in some shape or form, like their whole software suite. And I think it's going to be the same for these LLMs. That like there's none of the software that Microsoft really has is particularly special. You know, it's just that it's all part of the same ecosystem. It's going to be the same with these AI tools. So ChatGPT, if you want it, it's only going to become a big. So yeah, that's why I'm skeptical of a lot of these software companies. I think AI companies, sorry, I think they're all gonna. A lot of them are probably just gonna fail. And realistically, the companies that have been doing this forever, Microsoft, they will probably succeed. You'll have Microsoft, and you'll have Apple, obviously, and you'll have Google, and probably Meta. Although I feel like Meta's in a less power. I've always thought they're in a sort of less powerful position because it's more like, obviously social media is powerful, but it's not really as. I guess they've got their advertisement, but I feel like less and less people are using Facebook. So I don't know. Bit of a ramble there. By the way, if you like listening to me ramble around tech-related stuff, please leave a like, subscribe. Lucky that these predictions are always wrong, I guess. True. Elon Musk said we're going to be on Mars by 2026 or something like that. That was probably 2014, 2018 maybe. Always a strong word, especially if you look, obviously that's a bit more ambitious, but still. Self-driving cars we were going to have. I guess we sort of have self-driving cars. Sounds great to me. Anyone else looking forward to mass riots? I just don't think they would allow that to I think there's a big part of me that just wouldn't, because companies don't pay enough tax, right? We all know this. Employees do. If you get rid of employees, who's paying tax? If you're just a small country, well, let's just say you're the UK, and now suddenly half your country is unemployed. There's no one to pay tax. Your society falls apart. Okay, so I don't think everyone's losing their jobs. Although I'd like to know. That's quite an interesting question. How many white-collar jobs in the UK, I guess, employed? In the UK, 68% of jobs are white-collar. There you go. So, according to this quote, 70% of people, 68% of people in the UK are not going to be employed or have the potential to be unemployed in about 5 years' time. I'm skeptical. I'm not sure if this is satire, but current models are not capable yet. Tell me how it will wrangle all of the data from mainframes and the hundreds of different systems are not documented and everything is tribal knowledge. True. Why work that is still very much the case. The old machine plugged in the corner running Windows XP business. This is the thing. I think they all live in this sort of. Well, I still agree with the statement, right, that every white collar job within 5 years probably could be fully automated. I can't see it happening. Technology is not always the problem. We've had lots of sort of technological solutions, but you'll need a cultural shift as well. I'm sure they are capable today of making a huge dent in white collar employment numbers, but yeah, they aren't. I think the big thing they're actually doing, I think what we're actually going to see is there are less people getting jobs, and I think that's how it's going to play out. Whenever a technology sort of comes out, people don't get to work less. They're just expected to do more, right? That's kind of how productivity works. In an ideal world, when a piece of technology comes out, let's say it used to take you 4 hours to do something, now it takes you 1 hour to do something. It would be nice if you could work an hour less, but actually what ends up happening is you just end up doing a lot more in those 4 hours. That's where we got productivity wrong now, so they sit there until given instructions, just like humans. This is true. So yeah, again, you just need less people. But even the whole point of an agent is to have just a specified high-level goal, and then it can fit. That's why agents are a big thing. These current models can't do it, but LLM agents are essentially what it's going to be. There's probably people already working on just like, it will be like having a set of your own employees, right? One person will be able to do a lot of things. The other thing I'm interested to see is if just like it makes everything less valuable. Why would you pay for a product if I can have an agent just clone your product in a day, yeah. So I think, like always, I think the winners are going to be the ones that are already integrated, like Microsoft, just because of human nature. No one wants to switch. No one wants the hassle of like trying new software out. So most of these small companies are just going to be left in the dust. I mean, it can, but it won't. That's pretty much been my sentiment this video. Hype machine is at it again. Yeah, we know what it's like. They need investment, so they just hype everything up. Elon Musk has been doing this for literal years. Where is this quote from? Well, it is in the X video. It's literally linked in the video, like the video. It's only a 60-second clip, and he does say that. The truth is, major LLM researching are seeing more about what's actually feasible than anyone who isn't. Their jobs will also be automated with this round. Yeah. I mean, that is their goal, right? Their goal, people are talking about they don't want their jobs to be replaced, but that's not fundamentally true. I think, if anything, sort of self-replication is the main goal of this, which is fundamentally replacing, will be replacing researchers and stuff. I think it will be amazing in like science, field of science. Science has become so complex that any one person generally becomes an expert in the tiniest minute field. You don't have people anymore who are experts in multiple domains because there's too much knowledge that you have to know. I think with AI, we're going to give probably scientists the tools to be able to do more. I think for me, that's the most interesting application of AI is in scientific research. So I think that would be really cool. What's wild about these kind of predictions to me is how often they seem to hand out the wave, the event end steps forward implications of what they're saying. May not be fair here from just seeing a clip, but they basically say it's going to be very soon so trivially worthwhile to automate white collar work nearly completely, and so everyone would do it. What happens in a year or two after you do that? There's nobody around to pay for any products. That's what I said. Cue economic collapse. The exercise was completely pointless and your business is toast. Womp womp. This is true. You need taxpayers. Change the system. You can't. This doesn't make sense. You're not going to replace all jobs with white collar. You're not going to replace all jobs without fundamentally changing the system. So when will everyone be left with backbreaking blue-collar jobs until those are automated, and then we'll be barely surviving all of UBI's permanent gig economy with Gemini? The fallacy of tech bros is that they think everyone besides them is stupid monkey whose job is easy to automate. I don't get why people are worried. If jobs can be automated, then let government nationalize these industries. True. We will not need corporations. We can automate the corporations, as these machines will be efficient, so the arguments that governments are not will go away. They're not wrong. People don't like to hear that. They're not wrong. White-collar jobs, including those white-collar jobs developing AGI with the capabilities to replace said white-collar jobs, doubted the real threshold to reach. I'm sure I saw a comment that was like, oh no, maybe it was another thread, but it was, yeah. If this is true, why do they still have employees? Well, because they're just not there yet. Let me know when an AI understands the concept of fun in a game and how to achieve that. Until then, it ain't capable of replacing all game developer jobs. I don't know. Like, do people understand the concept of fun? It's probably not that difficult. I'll have to think about that. What is fun? It's quite an interesting question, actually. Like, can you... Obviously, there's no sort of mathematical calculation for if something will be fun or not. But, I mean, a simple sort of... I mean, I find strategy games fun, right? I think an AI would quite easily be able to create sort of balanced strategy games. That's mostly just sort of resource management. Or, you know, look at something like... Yeah... I think it would be with strategy games. I think it's easier, sort of about constraints, balancing, and sort of having to make choices, right? And then you want lots of like popping colors and stuff. You know, like Balantra has all of like things moving and different sort of pictures and stuff. So does this reflect on average the productivity? Interesting question. Does this reflect on average the productivity of US white collar worker? AI can help avoid the principal agent problem. Instead of worrying about your employees, agents being not solely motivated by the same goals as their employer, you just use AI and prompt it correctly. So Anthropic is on a new quest for funding. There you go. At least they are. This is the thing, right? It's like, for them to continue to exist, they need more money. And for them to grow, they need even more money. And if people aren't, if there's 1,000 or how many AI, how many big LLM companies are there right now? I'm not really sure. But there's a lot, right? And companies like Microsoft and Google, they will just basically be able to keep eating losses. So, and Apple. Whereas these other companies, they won't be. So they just need to outlast them. Their jobs are all going to disappear. Like, yeah, it's kind of a crazy thing. So they're all in a massive race to basically build as fast as possible. It really is a race, and they need to integrate in as many places as possible and get as many long-term customers as possible. I probably didn't articulate that very well, but my point being is all these companies hyping themselves up it's required. They're having to basically demonstrate their value to their investors, because the investors they don't care about AI. They just want to know, if I give you 100 million today, I want that to be worth 200 million someday. Prove it. I don't know if this is related to AI, but I've definitely heard jobs are harder to get right now. But that could just be the economy globally just being poor. Is there anywhere where the economy's going well? Maybe in some sort of, maybe Taiwan, I don't know, like sort of developing economies are probably doing okay. I feel like a lot of the developed economies are sort of struggling. So many white collar, that might be wrong, by the way. That would be my guess. So many white collar jobs are just competing against other white collar jobs, workers. I was a trader. I was able to make profits by competing against other traders to bid on things I thought were undervalued and sell things I felt were overvalued. If I was right more often than I was wrong, I made money. But if it's just AI versus AI, how will that work? Well, whoever has the better algorithm or the better data or the more representative data, I suppose. Interesting question though. But it will be exactly the same. There's fundamentally no difference between two people competing and two different algorithms competing. Or if it's the same algorithms competing. Interesting. Doesn't work like that though, because it's not a sort of zero sum, is it? It's not one trader versus another trader. It's many traders versus many traders. You're not making, if everyone's using the same algorithm, then yeah, probably nothing happens. Automate all jobs. Employment is immoral. I feel like people are a bit spoiled. Historically speaking, we're still living in like the best time ever, right? And you still get people moaning about just having to do a job. Like, come on, what's craziness? If this is where things are heading and we're going to do this at scale, we have to figure out if LLMs are experiencing anything. Of course they're not. If they're capable of having a good time or bad time, what we already do to animal scales is horrific. We don't need to do it to machines. I guess it raises an interesting question about consciousness and what is consciousness. I don't know. That's like philosophy. I don't know anything about that. I remember the only thing I've ever read about it is saying it's like maybe consciousness is just born out of complexity. So the idea being is, can you make something conscious by just making it complex enough? But I read this probably 10, 12 years ago. I don't know anything about this. Having said that, don't get tricked into thinking your LLMs are intelligent right now. They're sort of, I think it's quite deceiving sometimes, and I think they would pass a Turing test, of course. They can sort of come across as having a personality, but they don't. It's just copied and pasted. It's just copying what other people have said. It comes across as having a personality. It doesn't actually have a real personality. And you can see that it's constantly tweaked. It's not real. It's just an illusion. Yeah. Laugh my ass off. Look how many people there are that don't care about torturing animals. Dude, it's a matrix multiplication. It doesn't feel anything. Exactly. They are massive matrix multiplications. Very true. And with thousands of networks functioning in relation to one another. I'm not saying they're experiencing pain the way that we do, but they don't think. That's a way of a stretch to assume they're experiencing something. Sick and tired of all these overhyped statements. Where are we at? Large portions of my industry are already toast. Yeah, I can imagine that, to be honest. Animation, illustrations, like, I would be worried, because illustrations are already difficult. Like, I know illustrators, and animators and stuff, and that's already a difficult industry to get work in. So yeah, I think this is going to be the key thing. It's just the fact that AI, people can do more with less. You no longer need, I think everyone can quite easily be a full stack developer now if you're a developer. It's almost the expectation, it's always sort of been like that when you started. It's just like, oh, it would be good if you knew a back-end language, or now it's good if you know a front-end language. And it's always been the way that you need to know more and more technologies. It's almost borderline. It's been a meme my whole professional life that when you go for a software development job, the number of things they expect you to be proficient in is just ridiculous. And I think that list will just continue to grow. AI should be fixing the harder labor, not the office jobs and art. Why? Oh yeah, no, I guess I understand that from a sort of, I don't know, do you need AI to fix hard labor? Humans will always find a way to make things easier. That's just what we do. Now, what counts as a white collar job? Shut up. Anyway, I guess that's it for this video. Let me know your thoughts. As always, leave a like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.